Hello, everyone. This is Antonio, and I'm coming at you with another video. I can't call this video exciting because the circumstances surrounding this video is really not a exciting video. So I couldn't say that actually. A career criminal, and when you hear the prosecutor start reading off all of the charges of what this gentleman have done in his lifetime, and to go, and I believe I got this correct, you kill the mom's only son. Not only that, the son was a father of children. And you're going to hear in testimony of the girlfriend who have many, many ailments, health ailments, such as lupus. She's on dialysis. I believe she says she's suffering from diabetes as well. Um, and all of these circumstances surrounding, and the victim was actually helping her because she ended up moving in with the mom, but the victim was actually helping her. Now, the defendant in this case, very, very career criminal, like the title says, and he's a vicious person. He's a criminal. He's sitting there emotionless. You got people going volleying back and forth about your life, even though although you took someone else's life. And in my opinion, it's just a bad set of circumstances when people play God in this world. When people sit around and try to play God with other people's lives. Not only that, you most people's lives, especially when you hit adulthood, are extensions of other people's lives. I know that's a tongue twister, but it's just bad all around, right? When kids have to grow up without a father because people can't control their anger and their temper and this type things. But nonetheless, let's dive into the content. Um, Please like the video. More likes we get, it really helps push the algorithm. It lets YouTube know that people like this channel. Sometimes, that for the people that get my notifications, they always like and they do comment, but they sometimes they don't push my content, and I'm putting in a lot of work, putting out a lot of content. So a like would definitely help. But nonetheless, let's dive into the content.
The county jail, as you see the sentence right here. So it was reduced from felony punishment to misdemeanor punishment. He was given 180 days, and that sentence was on September 9th, 2019. So he got the 180 days, September 9th, 2019, and then in State's Exhibit 313. This is cause number 2034449. State of Texas versus Elijah Guillory. This was a burglary of a habitation. Pled guilty. The offense date was November 5th, 2019. Remember correctly, he got the punishment on September 9th, 2019, and he committed this offense on November 5th, 2019. This was a second-degree felony. The plea bargain was that he was to have up to 8 years, a cap of 8 years in prison. That meant that he was facing 2 to 20, but we capped it at 8 so that he could only face from 2 to 8 years or probation. And the court, after listening to everything, gave him 8 years, but suspended that sentence and gave him 10 years probation, which you'll see down here. Community supervision for 10 years. So he got 8 years prison, but it was suspended. He was placed on probation for 10 years on January 21st, 2021. 314A, I'm going to save for a little bit. We'll do 313. I'll be 314. Here's 314 because this goes along with 313. This is cause number 2034988, State of Texas versus Elijah Guillory. This offense date was December 31st of 2019 for a burglary of a habitation. The crime was committed a month after the last one. This was a second-degree felony. He pled guilty. The punishment was not to exceed a cap of 8, so they were pled together on the same day as you see up here on the sentence was January 25th, 2021. He was given the same sentence, 8 years, institutional division suspended and placed on probation for 10 years. That's on January 21st, 2021. Then you get to 313A. Which shows that after, this is cause number 2034449, that after he was placed on probation for that burglary of a habitation, originally on January 25th, 2021, he pled true to violating his probation, and he ended up getting 8 years in the penitentiary. That's the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. On January 3rd, 2022, that was after this offense was committed, but he was still on probation when he committed this offense, so this is the revocation after. Then we have 314A, which was the other probation that he had, 2034988. That offense, of course, remember, was on December 31st, 2019. Original probation was January 25th, 2021 for burglary of a habitation. He pled true to several counts violating his probation. He was given 8 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Penitentiary on January 3rd, 2022. So just to kind of give you a summary of all that, to make sure you understand. He had an offense date of January 5th, 2019 for the possession of a controlled substance. Was convicted on September 9th, 2019 and given 180 days county jail on September 9th, 2019. Then he committed 2 burglaries, one in November 5th of 2019, one in December 31st, 2019. He was convicted of those and placed on probation on January 21st, 2021. And then he committed this offense on August 25th, 2021. And then he was revoked and sentenced to 8 years penitentiary January 3rd of 2022. Now the state of Texas would call Regina Grigolski.
Please have a seat. Thank you, ma'am. And please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Would you be so kind? I can tell you have a soft voice. If you would, with
Yes, I
that
do.
microphone, you can move the microphone closer so you don't have to stretch your neck or anything, but if you can speak as close as you can to the microphone, for whatever reason, it's one of those that you have to speak very close to it so we can all hear. Thank you, man.
If we
Okay,
need to,
go
we'll
ahead.
move the chair a little closer, okay? State your name for the record again. They already know who you are.
Regina Bertolski.
And were you the mother of Matthew Drabulski?
Yes, I was
And how old was Matt when he died again?
37.
Matt have any siblings?
No,
He was your only child.
he was our only child.
Tell the jury what it's like to lose your only child to a murder.
Yes.
Is there a day go by and you don't think about this?
No, not one.
Since this case has been filed, about how many times have you contacted me?
I know you very well. I know you know me very well.
What kind of hole left in your life because your only son has been murdered?
There's a hole inside me that is huge.
Have you, over the years, kind of guarded these emotions these days? You and I've talked about this. You're very controlled.
I'm a very controlled person. I have a lot of self-control, always have. I've always counted that. It's a very, I've always been a very self-disciplined person. But, so it's been very difficult for me because of that. So it's been hard because emotions run very deep. That's a very emotional thing.
What about, did Matthew have any children?
He had one precious little boy,
What's his name?
Maxwell.
How old is he?
He's 11 years old now.
Let me show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 316. Who is this?
That's Maxwell.
Is this fairly inaccurately depict how he looks today?
Yes.
Interstate 316.
Objection is 316 here.
It's admitted.
Where's he at?
He is up at his grandmother's up near Chicago.
Visiting?
Yes.
How's he doing?
He's doing good.
See, ever talk about his dad much?
He talks about him from time to time. Yes, from time to time. Not a whole lot, but every once in a while he'll get it.
Okay. So he's handling it okay? Or has he got times when he doesn't?
At times he doesn't, at times he has low times. But at times.
Has he ever expressed himself as far as how this is really hurting?
He misses him. I know he misses him.
Has he ever,
They were close.
has he ever sent you anything that kind of gave you an idea of what his state of mind is recently?
Yes. It was very odd because, out of the blue the other day, I was at work and, which I found it to be very strange. Out of the blue, I was sitting at work and it was around 2:00 in the afternoon. And he sent me a song from Luke Combs. And, it was called, Backdoor
Front door family?
Front Door Famous, yeah. Front Door Famous, which I had never heard. And he sent it to me. And, I sat there at my desk and I bawled. I sat there and just bawled.
Something that just kind of set the whole thing to what him and his dad.
Yeah.
Can I show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 317? See if you recognize it.
Yes. Yeah.
Those are lyrics to Front Door Famous.
Yeah.
That's what he sent you.
Yeah.
Except he sent you the song. These are
He
just
sent
the
the
lyrics.
song. Yeah.
Interstate 317.
Objection.
Admitted.
We'll put this up for the jury, but I'm gonna give you highlighted version. I just want you to read a certain part of this. To read the highlighted version.
We're gonna need to blow that one.
I'm
up.
going to just
Yeah,
as soon as,
thank-
give me just a minute here, Mr. Husky. Okay, go ahead and start. We're gonna start right about here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Walking out the driveway, I see his face pressed against the screen door. Teddy bear and juice pack saying, "Daddy, please come back."
Keep going.
It tears me up every time. I can say, wait till I'm walking through the front door, hearing Daddy at the top of his lungs and his feet on the wood floor, running up to give me a hug. Yeah, that's what it's all for.
Now, there's more of those lyrics that the jury can read, aren't there?
Yeah.
Was that the part that caught your attention?
Yeah, the whole thing was just absolutely, I just sat there and mauled at my desk. Yeah. I couldn't, Maxwell is, he's really not that emotional kind of a child. But for him to just send that to me and, it moved me.
He's not gonna get to see Daddy come from the screen door anymore. Is he?
No,
He's not gonna get to have that hug either.
no, he's not.
He's not gonna get to call him Daddy ever again. I'll pass it.
No questions.
All right. You will excuse me. Thank you. Next, please.
Okay, the rest of it.
State rest, what says defense?
I have one witness, Chantrell Brown.
All right, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
And as the lady before, please, would you put your hand down? Please turn the microphone toward your voice. And you may need to scoot up a little bit with the chair so you're not uncomfortable. Okay, go ahead.
Police Court, again, state your name.
Yes.
For the record, could you state your name, please?
Chantrell Brown.
And Chantrell, how do you know Elijah?
He's my kid's dad.
How many children do you have together?
Two.
And how old are they?
I have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old.
3-year-old and 2-year-old, boy or girl?
I have boys,
2 boys. What's their names?
Elijah and Carson.
At the time of this incident in 2021, you were living over at his house? You gotta speak, is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just, doesn't, I know what you're saying. Where are you living now?
I currently stay with his mom.
Okay, so you still live?
Yes, sir.
What kind of parent was Elijah in reference to his 2 boys?
A wonderful dad, a dad that I never had, but he taught Carson a lot throughout the year that we had him, the year that he was there. He's an amazing person.
He testified, and I know you were outside, that he was a hands-on dad. That he took interest in his children or his child. Did you do stuff with him?
Yes, sir.
What kind of things did you do?
He would go out and get milk. He would watch him when I would have bad days with my illnesses that I have.
When you went to work?
Yes, sir. He was always there.
And you didn't have any problems at all saying, take care of your son?
No, sir. He jumped before I did, honestly.
He never, did he ever, put the child in harm?
No, sir.
So
If anything, he protected him 24/7. That's all he did.
You have some medical issues,
Yes, sir.
and what medical issues do you have?
I have
lupus, I'm on dialysis and also have diabetes.
And when you're on dialysis, what does that entail?
It pretty much cleans my blood
How often do you do that?
3 days a week.
3 days a week?
Yes, sir.
And how many hours does it take to,
3 hours and 30 minutes.
so you have to go 3 days a week for 3-4 hours,
Yes, sir.
to get your blood? What's the diagnosis?
Renal failure, kidney failure from my lupus.
Are you on the transplant list?
Not currently.
I guess the question could be asked, sometimes asked, what should they do with Elijah? I mean, you may not have agreed with their decision to find him guilty, but now we're in punishment. You know that someone has died, someone has been shot and paralyzed. And I guess if you look back and it happened to your son, because you see Matt's mom get up here just now and said what she's going through. And you as a mom now of 2 children, they have to decide what to do. What should they do?
Objection, Your Honor. That's invading the province of the jury. It's not a proper question.
They should be just and fair, like the law commands the jury to be, based upon the law and the evidence. That's not for her to dictate, that's the law. But you can ask the question maybe in a different way.
And I, what consideration should they give Elijah in reference to this, based on everything?
Consider his children. Consider that they need their dad.
How long do you expect to be around?
Honestly, I don't know. I have a lot of health issues that they would need their other parent. Because their grandmother can't do everything. She can't teach them how to be men. That's his dad's job. We can do the best that we can, but that's for him to do. You can't do that from behind bars for the rest of his life.
That's the ministry.
First of all, I'm extremely sorry for your illness that you have. I can't imagine what you're going through. When were your children born?
I had my first baby in 2020, and I had my second baby in 2022.
So he was on probation whenever you met him, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were pregnant when he started violating his probation, I guess. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And while in 2020, while this was going on, how you had the second one in 2022, so you became pregnant, I guess, while all this offenses that he had, the burger and everything was going on, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to see, what example is he setting for his children? While you're pregnant, you have all this stuff going on, and he's out doing this. Cutting off his monitor, violating his probation, admitting that he had drugs. What kind of example is that?
Nobody's perfect. Nobody always does the right thing. But when it comes to his kids, he doesn't show them anything like that. They can't see no wrong in him because they're his children.
What happens when he's aching for drugs? He's looking for drugs.
I've never seen that side before, which my kids haven't either.
Would you agree with me? States Exhibit 304. If that's what happens when he gets loose on drugs, that's not a really good example for your children, is it?
Answer the question.
From that pictures.
Would you agree with me that sometimes people when they're at home, they act one way, but when they get out on the street, they act another way.
Yes, I do.
Would you also agree with me that your children can go visit their father in prison and talk to him, can't they?
Yes, sir, they can,
Can he go talk to his daddy anymore?
he can.
That was taken away from him, wasn't it?
It was.
Anything else?
Nothing further.
You are excused, ma'am. Next, please.
This time, defense rush.
Defense arrests.
Where is Judge?
All right, let me see the lawyers for just a second, please. Up here, please. Thank you. All right, anything further from the state or the defense in this
No, Your Honor.
punishment phase trial?
No,
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the parties have rested their cases. We have taken up any issues that need to be addressed for this punishment phase of the trial instructions I have in my hand. And we are ready to proceed. I'm going to be in a moment reading to you this jury charge containing the law applicable for your deliberations on the punishment phase of this trial. In continuing to discharge your responsibilities as judge, you must continue to observe all the instructions which have previously been given to you. Again, because these are given to you since your conduct is subject to review, the same as that of the witnesses, parties, attorneys, and myself. Again, please listen carefully, as I know you're going to. As I read this charge, it will, as before, be left with you to refer to as necessary during your deliberations. Members of the jury, you have found the defendant guilty of the offense of murder. It becomes your responsibility to assess the proper punishment. This offense under our law is a first-degree felony. First-degree felony punishment. Our law provides that an individual adjudged guilty of a first-degree felony shall be punished by confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, in other words, prison, for life, or for any term of years not more than 99 years or less than 5 years. In addition to imprisonment, an individual adjudged guilty of a felony of the first degree may be punished by a fine not to exceed $10,000. Good time credit and parole. Under the law applicable in this case, the defendant, if sentenced to a term of imprisonment, may earn time off the period of incarceration imposed through the award of good conduct time. Prison authorities may award good conduct time to a prisoner who exhibits good behavior, diligence in carrying out prison work assignment, and attempts at rehabilitation. If a prisoner engages in misconduct, prison authorities may also take away all or part of any good conduct time earned by the prisoner. It is also possible that the length of time for which the defendant will be imprisoned might be reduced by the award of parole. Under the law applicable in this case, if the defendant is sentenced to a term of imprisonment, he will not become eligible for parole until the actual time served equals 1/2 of the sentence imposed, or 30 years, whichever is less, without consideration of any good conduct time he may earn. If the defendant is sentenced, and this is in the statute, I read it, but it is not applicable in this case. If the defendant is sentenced to a term of less than 4 years, he must serve at least 2 years before he is eligible. The minimum is 5 years, but this is under the statute that I must read. It is inapplicable in these circumstances under this case. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Eligibility for parole does not guarantee that parole will be granted. It cannot accurately be predicted how the parole law and good conduct time might be applied to the defendant if he is sentenced to a term of imprisonment, because the application of these laws will depend on decisions made by prison and parole authorities. You may consider the existence of the parole law and the good conduct time. However, you are not to consider the extent to which good conduct time may be awarded to or forfeited to this particular defendant. You are not to consider the manner in which the parole law may be applied to this particular defendant. Defendant's election not to testify. Our law provides that a defendant may testify in his own behalf if he elects to do so. This is a right given to a defendant, and in the event he elects not to testify, that fact cannot be taken as a circumstance against him. In this case, the defendant has elected not to testify, and you are instructed that you cannot and must not refer to or allude to that fact throughout your deliberations or take it into consideration for any purpose whatsoever. General instructions. The attached verdict forms are supplied for your use. When you have reached your verdict, your foreperson, should fill in the appropriate form and sign their name as foreperson. In arriving at your verdict, it is not proper to fix the punishment you assess by any system of averaging. Your verdict must be determined only by a full, fair, and free exercise of the opinions of each juror based upon the evidence presented. Your verdict must be unanimous. Your failure to follow the law contained in this charge could result in a mistrial being declared, and your deliberate violation of these instructions could result in your being held in contempt of court, which of course we don't want. The verdict forms, there are 4 options. 1, we, the jury, assess the defendant's punishment at confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. I will refer to that as prison on the other ones, for a term of blank years. And that would be no less than 5, nor more than 99. A place for the foreperson to sign. The second one, we, the jury, assess the defendant's punishment at confinement in prison for a term of blank years, that is no less than 5, no more than 99. We further assess a fine of blank dollars, and that is not to exceed $10,000. A place for the foreperson to sign. Third option, we, the jury, assess the defendant's punishment at confinement in prison for life. A place for the foreperson to sign. And the final option, we, the jury, assess the defendant's punishment at confinement in prison for life. We further assess a fine of not to exceed $10,000, a place for the foreperson to sign. Only one verdict form can be signed. As before, the state of Texas, under the law, is allowed to open and close final arguments. What says the state?
Take away the right to open, reserve the right to close.
And Mr. Burbank, on behalf of the defense, when you are ready, sir. Yes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're at the part of the trials, as you know, is punishment and what we give a punishment now to an individual that you've deemed guilty. Doing this long enough, and we both all have. You live and die by the sword. What I mean by that is sometimes the sword comes out dry, sometimes it comes out bloody, depending on what type or what side you're on. But that does not go against the system that we have here in reference to what you decided, what you have not decided. And that is the system that I, and as everybody in this court has abided by, and this country has abided by for a number of years, and you truly have to believe it. I will tell you up front, I may not agree with your decision, but I respect it, because that's what I've asked you all to do. I asked you right up front from the very beginning Monday. I will point out some things to you that I hope that you would consider. You've heard from Elijah's mom. You've heard a little bit about what went on and what his lifestyle and his father, what she does, who was around at the time. You've also heard from Elijah, though he did not testify, and you cannot take that into consideration in reference to punishment phase. But you are also able to take into consideration, as I know Mr. Laird will talk on it, what happened in the guilt instance. And I will tell you that in the guilt instance, he denied any participation. You're just not going to turn around and say, oh yeah, I was just kidding when I was lying to you. I would submit to you that he said that those guilt innocence is probably what he would say. He's, of course, probably disappointed, which I know he is. But he also is respectful for what you all done, because that's what we've asked you to do. Up front Monday, we said we didn't have an agreement and all needed to decide. You gave a look at Elijah's life with Central and the kids. And I'm not going to come up here and say, oh, the kids and this and that, because Mr. Lyric is absolutely right. Everyone in this, as I told you before, has been hurt. There's a son that will never talk to his dad. Two children that are probably gonna have kids of their own, maybe grandfather. Maybe his kids will be grandfather, they'll be a great grand, or I mean, a grandfathers. Their kids, by the time he gets out. It affects everybody, it affects both. And there is a difference. I'm not coming up here and blow smoke anywhere. I'm trying to tell you, because all along I've been asking you, let's put it on the table and decide. You have a wide range of punishment. During the board diary, you were instructed possibly that the minimum could have been 15 years. And it's not. Because of the law and the way that the convictions work, the punishment is not enhanced, as was said. So it's not. I'm not gonna stand here and tell you what a number of years is, because I can't tell you what a life is. I've been doing this for 35 years. It doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easier. So I ask you to take everybody's consideration in what they've said. And as a defense attorney, I will too say, take the family into consideration. You have to. It's the totality of the circumstances. Decide. That's what I asked y'all to do. And I thank you all for your time this week. I know Elijah does too. Again, you may not agree with the decision, but we respect it. And I do too, because that's what I asked you all to do. And we do believe in the system. Thank you.
Please, Brooke,
Yes.
counsel. This is my daddy face. This is the face I get when we talk about punishment, because I'm gonna tell you something, and you know it's coming. I'm gonna ask you for a lot of time, and there's a reason for that. Because what he did is the reason we're all here. We can go up and cry about all this and talk about his children and everything else, but was he considering anything about his family whenever he went out and did what he did? So let's talk about this. You know, whenever I have 3 daughters. My youngest one now is 30 years old, so I'm an old man. But my children, when they're growing up, whenever they would get in trouble, I would start off by, just a little something, telling them not to do it. And then you give them a little slap and you say, stop that. It's wrong. And then you give them a little harsher punishment, like putting them in the room or taking something away from them and doing it. And then when they just keep on doing it, they keep on just violating the rules, and you need them to know that what they did was wrong and how wrong it was and that they're not getting it, then you spank them. At least you did in my house. My dad spanked me 5 or 6 times that I can remember the point being made. Now we can sit here and we can play games all day long, but this is what's going on in your county. This is what happened in Jefferson County on August 25th, 2021. This man was at his own home. I want y'all to think about that. Walk around your house at night in the dark when it's quiet. And what do you think? You're just walking around going, it's a beautiful night. He's out there. You heard James Dalton say it was a quiet night. They were just working on their vehicles. One working on a motorcycle, one working on a truck. They're just minding their own business. They weren't out with a gun and backpack sneaking up on anybody. They were just minding on their own property. And I thought about it for a while, and I'm not going to do it, but I wanted to play State's Exhibit 1 again because I wanted you to hear those gunshots. Do you realize how little time it took to end one man's life and end another one's life as far as what he could do with it? And end this little boy being able to see his daddy, as the song says, walking up the porch, where he can run and say, "Daddy, give him a hug." And I don't know what else I need to show you but that, but we're going to talk. Because these are the chances he's had. Y'all do realize that. He got a misdemeanor punishment on the first one. They said, "Hey, there's your little slap on the wrist. Stop that." Then he gets a felony punishment. He gets probation. You're going to your room. And while he's there, he cuts off. Why does he cut off his monitor? Do you think he cut it off just because he wanted to have a free leg? No, he cut it off because he was up to no good. He got back to his old street ways. He started looking for drugs, and the only way to get drugs if you're not working in your home 24/7, as she said, or you're working at a temp agency, is you got to go take it from somebody else. Citizens of this county. I'm not even going to talk about all the 30 auto burglars that were mentioned in the bill, because that's something else. But just this crime alone, I want you to think about this. So here's the scheme he had to get money so he could satisfy himself. I'm going to take this other kid with me, and I'm going to go to somebody's house, and I'm going to rob them. Now, normally when you rob somebody, you've seen it in convenience stores, you've seen it places where they go, "Give me all your money," and they take it and they run out. And they leave them alive. He never had a chance. He wasn't shot in the front, he was shot from behind. People, that should tell you who this man is. He shot him from behind without even one consideration about what it's going to do to him. It was all about this man right over here. Just like his drug problem, just like his other times that he got in trouble for burglarizing people's houses and stealing things, just like it was when he showed up that night with a gun. Not only did he shoot that man in the back of the head, he shoots Mr. Dalton, who falls to the ground. And what happens is he turns to run, he gets shot in the back, hits the ground, and then what? Did he leave him alone then? No, there was one more shot. This one could have killed him, but it hit him in the mouth. That's those 4 shots you heard. Does that tell you about an individual? Is he trying to scare them? Is he trying to just rob them? When he shoots somebody 3 times, and the last time while he's laying on the ground paralyzed? And he doesn't even end it there. He goes inside. Calls the dog. You know, I've talked to a lot of people about this case, and that's the one thing that always gets everybody. He shot the dog. The dog didn't do anything to him. He called the dog to shoot the dog. I want you to think about that heart that requires that, because you got to think about this. When somebody takes one of these weapons and he points it at you, that's one thing. That takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of whatever it is in your criminal mind to point a gun at another individual, take their money. But when you pull the trigger, you know what that's going to do. You know, pulling the trigger on a gun, we talked about this, guns are for one thing only, that's to kill somebody. You pull the trigger, not one time, 4 times outside, and then 1 more inside. And then you leave. Even if all that you thought you were righteous, you have a man laying in the driveway screaming for help. You saw him. He's laying out there paralyzed, screaming for help, and you leave him. You leave him. You walk off, leaving that man where you could go back and say, I messed up, I'm sorry. You leave him, laying there, crying for help. You heard him begging to God, Jesus, save me. I love you, God, I love you, Jesus. And then you run off. And you know what's worse than that? Is afterwards, and you look at some of these texts, you're driving back by the house, wanting to get some more stuff. That's how cold this is. That's how cold this is. That is somebody who needs to be put away so that we don't have to worry about if he has those drug problems again. Because if he gets to jonesing again for the drugs, there's no telling what he's capable of. So yeah, he needs to be put somewhere where we don't have to worry about that anymore. Jefferson County is safe. His children can visit him. We can maybe set an example by telling them, don't do what I did and end up here. They can learn a lesson that you don't do that. And I would tell you that, you know what? He should walk out of that prison whenever James Dalton walks out of that wheelchair. Because that's what I'm asking you for. I'm asking you to let him walk out of prison when that man walks out of the wheelchair, or this man walks out of here alive. Yeah, it's not nice, it's not fun, and it's not comfortable putting somebody in prison and saying life, but you know what? It is necessary to protect this county and to protect people that are just minding their own business. This man decides he needs money from drugs. So go back there, cry for his children, cry for his baby's mother that is having sick illnesses. I feel for her. She didn't put us in this position. Cry for the grandchildren, cry for mama, cry for daddy, cry for everybody else in that family. They didn't put us in this position. But don't go back there and cry for him. Not a man that believes somebody screaming for help on a driveway and another one dead and he's shot in the back of the head. Don't cry for him. Do what you need to do for him, and that's put him where we're safe. I look forward to your verdict.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to tender the jury charge to the bailiff. I'm going to ask you to follow the bailiff into the deliberation room, and we will await your verdict. Thank you. We are in recess. All right, we're in recess awaiting a verdict.
All right, so thank you all who have tuned into this video. In my opinion, this could have been avoided, man. I mean, I know a lot of things happen, things in the heated moment, but this guy's a real criminal. Sometimes, people go through these programs while they're in jail. They come out, they say they're going to do better. But some people are downright career criminals. You got people that's under the jail because they brains are twisted and it will hurt you. Not only will they hurt you, they will hurt others. So some people has like beta fish, right? Like a beta fish. If a beta fish is in a pond and all of the beta fish were populated in that pond together, beta fish can get along with each other, believe it or not. They have ponds where beta fish cohabitate. That's the truth. But in domesticated environments, you cannot put two beta fish in the tank together because they would hurt each other. And that's what some people are. They are like beta fish. Sometimes you could put that beta fish with some of these people around people just like them and they can cohabitate. But some people got to be in solitary confinement because they are a danger to themselves and others surrounding them. You got people that sleep naked in jails around the world because they cannot be trusted. And this guy most likely was served the rest of his life in jail because you played God. You took this young man from this world and he didn't have to be away from this world like that. But nonetheless, this is Antonio with Team Tiggio. Please support the channel, at least by liking the video, right? Cash App, Super Chat, you can support us in that regard. And hit the notification bell after you subscribe to the channel. And once again, we will see you in the next video. Put it in the comments. How do you feel about this case? How do you feel about this case? Put it in the comments. Once again, we'll